I talk to so many people about Deckible, and if they get to see it, they are literally, I can just see them bouncing up and down with energy and excitement because they didn't know such a thing was possible. If people go, oh, digital deck, oh yeah, blah, 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 not for me, but if they don't look, they do not know what they're missing, right? And so I'm going to tell more of that story. So, big emphasis of today, I'm going to demonstrate two parts of the product, the app, the consumer experience, and I'm going to show you the creator experience and some of the things that we help you to market your deck. Because really, it's fun to create a deck, but also it's way more fun to sell it. and to actually have that validation of friends, family, building an audience, maybe even building a business around card deck creation, which many people have done. And really, there's no reason why you couldn't join into that too, right? The skills you learn on this course are very focused right now on Tarot and Oracle, but you're going to hear from me a much bigger picture to paint the whole map. And quite honestly, Tarot and Oracle is the most fiercely competitive space in the card deck industry. So if you take these skills and create other card decks around and about and across the full spectrum, if you think about what opportunities exist and what decks don't exist, that's a way bigger opportunity. So some of you are here to be creative, and some of you are here to make money. If you're in that Venn diagram where they overlap, then fantastic. I think you're gonna get a lot of value out of this. So I've got my chat window down the side, hopefully, and I can. Oh, I need sharing. Sorry.
Got it. Sorry, I forgot I have power.
No worries. Okay, cool. And I'm just going to turn on that and that, and I'm going to do that. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just go full screen. Okay. Cool. I think I have everything. There we go. That's better. Oh, let's put that. All right. Okay. So I was going to spend a long time creating stuff for this. Every talk I do, I try and do something a little bit different, because I think my enthusiasm about this is as infectious and as important as anything. So if I get bored of the same, I never try and say the same thing twice. There's some common themes going on here. But basically, we've just reached a phenomenal milestone with Deckible. We now have 800 published decks on Deckible. We've got probably 1,500 creators in the works at different stages with different decks. We have many more decks that are in the kind of final app testing stage. And I can really tell you where conversations I'm having these days with people is people with 5, 10, 20 plus decks, right? So the game is changing. We've built this up. People who spoke to us a year ago or ignored us a year ago are now coming back to us and speaking, because I'm going to talk a lot about the adoption cycle, early adoption cycle, as we go through this. Decks are going bigger and bigger. I'm going to give you lots of data on that. But digital decks are expanding and expanding too. And there's lots of reasons why that will be the case. Having got to 800, it's phenomenal. And I'm just going to tell you some facts, some stories, and some demonstrations as we go through. So I'm more than happy to take questions as we go. I might not answer them straight away, but I'll keep that in mind as I look at what's going on there. So I always love to, and whenever you create anything in this world, you always need a from and to story, right? When Tesla come along, what was Tesla's story? Climate change, rising fuel costs. The from is from a petrol car to an electric car. Every product you can think of, the iPhone before an iPhone, you had these crappy experiences with these phones that couldn't do all this stuff. And then you moved over to a much richer experience with all these apps and full connectivity and the full internet on your phone. So what is Deckible's from and to story? And the reality is, and you may not know this, I've done a lot of research, right? The average person who loves decks owns 10, 20, 50, or 100 decks. I've done a lot of research. It's very common for people who get into the deck space keep buying more and more decks, right? So the consequence of that, yeah, thanks, Lynn. Yeah, actually pop your deck number. This is anonymous, and obviously what stays on this call, what's told in this call stays on this call. But yeah, follow Lynn with her example. I think mine's around 150 probably. So when you have that many decks, you actually need a therapist or a physiotherapist to help you carry them around, right? So you can't. So then you have to do this horrible thing. We have to choose which deck you might think you need on a given day and take it with you, because we're the real serious collectors and avid deck users carry at least one deck with them at all times. But with Deckible, we eradicate that problem. And if you remember, if you think back to music, do you remember the size? First there was an album, right? This huge thing, and then they condensed it down to a cassette, and then a CD, and then it went digital, and now we're all on Spotify. Has anyone still got their CDs? I kept on. I was one of the latest adopters of Spotify, but they just got to me eventually. They added so much value in the Spotify experience that I'm not paying Spotify for the music in my mind. I'm paying them for the experience, because the music has become free. I've bought lots of music. When they added radio stations to be able to choose, pick a song and make a radio station about this song, pick a band, right? Pick me a radio station about that. There's so much data and value that's added through Spotify or the like, whichever platform you use. It becomes more about the experience than the actual content. And that's fascinating, right? So our from story is from decks left at home to decks in your pocket. And if you're an old school card deck user, you might have massive attachment to your paper. And that's absolutely fantastic. And you're more than welcome to that. Our vision is to look to the future and also look to the past. We look to the past for patterns and trends and reasons why things will happen. And we look to the future to think about what's coming, right? And our vision really is to be Audible for card decks, or Spotify for card decks. The rich experience on your phone, so you can do anything and everything you can do with a card deck on your phone. So you can shuffle, pinch, zoom, arrange, flip, read the guidebook, do so much more. But that's the basic thing to remember is, and the cool thing about this, let's be honest, do we want to knock down more trees at this point? Do we want to create a bigger carbon footprint? And it's not actually even the making of the deck, it's the shipping of the deck, right? Shipping your individual deck from China, print on demand, wherever you ship it from. It flies around the world. It then gets in a truck. It gets delivered by, it's like, it all adds up, right? So a digital deck is just that there's a zero eco footprint. It's much more economic and you've got much more choice, right? And one of the biggest things about Deckible is it's really a daily practice toolkit, which means you use Deckible every day to draw a card. We never forget a card. In building up your daily practice, you are building up healthy habits. Less scrolling, more mindful, peaceful time, choosing what you think about. So that's the big idea with Deckible, is we're going to take you from left at home to in your pocket and all the things that flow from there. And, I kind of asked this question, why did these platforms win, right? So Netflix, Audible, Spotify, TikTok, YouTube, Kindle, Instagram, Spotify, they're all there. Why did they win? They won because they shifted how we experience content, right? They touch our senses in different ways because they leave us this never-ending feel of content. We can find one song and then find another and another. We can find a band we like, and then the platform will help us tell other things that are interesting, right? The same with Amazon, right? You read a book on Amazon and you think this is really curious, and then you realize you get all those recommendations to buy other books. That's valuable. That's using data and intelligence that you can't get. You couldn't get that when there were only printed bookstores, right? You didn't know who bought what together, but now you do, right? So the benefits of a digital deck, it's an interactive experience. You're touching it, moving cards around. It's always with you, but it's an experience. It's creating healthy habits. And that's the big deal, right? And Marshall McLuhan is this phenomenal kind of future seeker from 1970s. And he was a professor and a speaker. And he wrote an amazing book many people have heard of, called The Medium is the Massage. And it was all about saying that it's not the content that's important of any new medium. It's the experience. It's how it changes how we consume that content. And if you think about it, when we had print, and along came radio didn't kill print. And we had radio, and along came TV didn't kill radio. And podcast did not. No new media kills the prior media. They all exist together, and they provide new ways for us to experience content. So digital decks will never kill printed decks. They just change the experience and make it more available to us in a richer format, because that's what digital can do, right? So we are not alone in seeing this trend, right? These are out of date now, actually, but I keep finding more bigger people who've created decks. So Oprah Winfrey created a deck. It's a shoebox. Stephen Bartlett is, I don't know, who's heard of Stephen Bartlett? Anyone heard of him? Very famous. He's on basically Shark Tank in the UK, Dragon's Den, as we call it, I think, the right way around. And he has a very successful podcast called Diary of a CEO. And in his podcast, he gets the last guest to ask a question to the next guest. And he's turned every single one of those questions into a card deck and sold it very successfully. It's always out of stock. Esther Perel, #1 global sex therapist, massive TED Talk, probably bigger than Brené Brown, made a card deck of relationship questions, right? Mark Groves, very successful dating and relationship coach, made an amazing deck. It goes on, right? I keep finding more and more people. Deepak Chopra has made a couple of decks, which I've found recently. I keep finding new decks. So we're not alone in this, because decks are becoming more and more important. Why is that? We live in a very short attention span age. We live in what's called short form media, right? We're used to X and TikTok, thinking of those as short form media. Well, a card deck is the ultimate short form media. Well, a digital card deck is the ultimate short form media. And you'll see why as we go through all the things that a digital card deck can do. It lets you have a short form snackable experience, whether it's learning on the go, whether it's reclaiming your focus, building healthy habits, setting affirmations and intentions, manifesting. All of that can be done with a card deck. And it's very snackable, very engaging, very tactile, right? So I kind of thought we'd play a quick game here, is sort of apps versus boxes. What's some of the advantages? And everyone wants to throw in some ideas into the chat. What do you think are some of the advantages of apps over boxes, right? So anyone want to throw in something in there? I can do a starter for 10 if no one's got any suggestions. Oops. So, yeah, variety, yeah, mobility, great. Yeah, take it with you. No, yeah, exactly, right? So some of the things that I've written down, size. A digital deck has 0 size, because everyone carries their phone with them wherever they are, right? So when you have a shitty moment, which is often the things that card decks are connected with, something bad happens, you want to draw a card, right? You've got your deck with you. You don't have to wait till later when you get home, and by that time you've lost what was the energy of all this stuff that was upsetting me. It's gone. But with the card deck in your pocket on your phone, it's much more accessible, right? So they're always with you. You can also journal. Let's not forget. Deckible. I have to say this 1,000 times, because people kind of ask me, oh, you mean I can journal with my deck? Yes, you can journal with your deck. We have integrated journaling. So every time you draw a card, you can journal. And we don't forget that, right? So that's a richer experience for you, because your journal is with you at all times. We also have your timeline. So we store every reading. So you can actually see how much effort and energy you put into your own self-care, right? I think that's a very important thing. It's green, eco. There's no waiting, right? So when someone finds your deck and they get curious about it, they can literally have it downloaded on their phone in 5 minutes, even if they've never heard of Deckible before, right? That is phenomenal, because we live in a tension of a goldfish. FOMO is a big thing. If something becomes hot, everyone wants it instantly. Who's going to wait for a print-on-demand deck, or just classic shipping, right? Not everyone's shipping from Amazon, because not everyone is Amazon isn't carrying your stock unless you're a superstar or just you've got big pockets and you've filled up a warehouse full of your deck. So people get bored, people forget, right? And the idea of having to wait puts people off. There's no shipping, there's no stock. You don't have to finance it, right? As a creator, there is zero cost to you, zero investment to you, zero risk to you, no monthly fees, no setup fees. That is a pretty phenomenal story. And, you know, you can have more decks, right? And not on top of that, to mention, we've done away with the physical card deck limitation of 2 sides, right? Paper has a 2-sided limit. Even Elon Musk cannot solve the 2-sided paper problem, right? So what's the consequence of the 2-sided paper problem? We created something called a guidebook, which is kind of hysterical, right? It's like the guidebook wouldn't exist if paper was 3-sided or 4-sided, because the information on the card you would just have it on the card, right? Digitally, that's exactly what we do. We can have the guidebook as the 3rd side. You never have to look it up. I guarantee you, 90% of people, 90% of the time, do not touch the guidebook, right? Because no one has got the attention, no one's carrying with them. Like, to look up a 5-card reading in a book is super tedious. No one's going to do that, right? Whereas with a digital deck, flip, there's the guidebook, right? Oops. Yeah. So I think, yeah, there's some compelling advantages, right? And it's a new medium. So don't when you say the word digital deck to somebody, their brain kind of fogs over it. Unless you know what Deckible is or what you can do with it, your brain might go, don't know what that is. It sounds like a PDF, right? Because since the arrival of Deckible, everyone's saying they've got a digital solution for their card deck, and it's a downloadable PDF, which is total insanity. It's a horrible experience. And why would you sell your IP and give someone the full artwork to your deck? I mean, people do that on Etsy. I see there's some value in it, but it's pretty crazy. So the value of that is kind of fairly self-evident. Yeah, never. Thanks, Lim. Yeah, exactly. Who uses a guidebook? It's so crazy, but you know, we all create them, we expect them, and now digitally we can deliver them, right? So, I just wanted to focus on that. And one of the things that I didn't know this statistic, but it's phenomenal. And you know, I've picked up this. I've learned so much since we created Deckible, because I talk to so many people and I discover new facts. And basically, as this research shows, that we remember 10% of what we read. And that goes up to 90% of what we experience. And Deckible is totally an experience. I was chatting to a guy the other day. He's just loaded, he's got a very successful business with selling coaching decks into the business space. He has a collection of 9 decks. They're all loaded on Deckible now. And he told me something: we forget 90% of what we learn within 48 hours. Like that, just sit and think with that, right? That is pretty phenomenal. It's very depressing, but it's also exciting because it means you can learn on the fly. You can fill in your knowledge gap on the fly with a card deck. So yeah, thanks, Lynn. And you know, 2 other statistics that I find are mind-blowing. How many of you finished books you start reading? Very few people, though, in reality, especially not so much novels. More people finish novels. I'm talking about more business development, kind of coaching type books, right? The statistic shows that 85% of people do not finish your book. If you think, yeah, exactly. That's totally heartbreaking as an author. I think I'd stop writing if that was the case, right? And if you think the 85% is bad, try this. What percentage of people do not finish an online course? It's 94%, right? So be careful of that when you're buying a course, because it means you're like 94% likely to not complete it. Whereas a card deck isn't really a case of finishing it. It's a case of snacking from it on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, returning to the decks you're interested in, topping up your knowledge, right? And when it's an experience, it makes it more memorable. And the difference with Deckible is you're doing something, right? We are entering a shift. We have been in 20 years of passive consumption, watch, listen, read. And now we're entering an age of active participation and engagement. Your average modern consumer wants to do something. So that's choosing cards, flipping them over, arranging them, making choices, journaling on them, meditating. These are all high participation acts. And that's why Deckible is kind of magical. And what are we building with Deckible, right? It's a big vision. We're well on the way to it, but having 800 decks in there is massive proof of where we're heading. And so it's what's called a two-sided marketplace. You may never have heard that term. Let me tell you about some two-sided marketplaces you know of: Uber, Etsy, eBay, Kickstarter, right? They are all two-sided marketplace. What does a two-sided marketplace need? It needs enough products to be listed on there and enough consumers to buy them. Because if you don't have both sides of the two-sided marketplace, the thing falls down, right? And so with Deckible, we've got a very healthy and ever-expanding set of decks. We have a very healthy and expanding set of users. Our original belief when we created Deckible was that your average consumer owns 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 decks, right? So our belief was we need to prove, if we're right, the typical consumer will buy 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 digital decks. We absolutely have proof of that, right? We have some people that have those numbers of decks already, and we have a spread of those. And I can tell you 30% of Deckible revenue comes from repeat purchase. So when people buy one deck, they go on buy to two. We literally track first, second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th plus purchase, right? And we see that every day there's just like people moving along the path. So every new person we bring to Deckible has a very high percentage chance that they're going to move on to buying their second and third deck, especially if they consume and explore and dive into the depth of the product, right? And so the mathematics of what I think about with Deckible is expressed here. The bigger our community and the creators we have, so creators times the community times decks times the value of each deck, because each different deck is of a different value to people. The number of fans of the platform and the size of love for the platform is the total value of Deckible, right? And so that concentric circle is really showing. In the middle is creators, then publishers, then course creators, then facilitators and consumers. And we're really setting out a vision, but that's what we're heading towards. And we just keep making constant progress in this regard, right? And so just as proof of the 800, and this is way out of date right now. I might have messed this up, but it looks wrong. So basically, yeah, this is a very old set of decks now, but there's way more decks since I last did this. But we have workplace facilitation, wellness and therapy decks, creativity and ideation decks, prompts and choices. I think I've messed that one of those is wrong. But anyway, there are 7 segments on Deckible, right? And literally there is a deck for everything. And that we haven't got every deck on Deckible at this point, obviously. By the way, our estimate is there are 100,000 unique card decks in the world today in English only. So if you look at the books, the big 5 publishers, all the decks they sell, all the spiritual publishers and all the tarot and oracle decks they sell, all of the indie creators who sell their content on Etsy and on Kickstarter and Indiegogo and on, right? It's a massive market. And there are so many factors that are fueling this, right? It's because of the ease of tools like Canva, because of the explosion of AI, because of the explosion of print-on-demand platforms, the explosion of digital solutions to be able to market this stuff. There are so many people making a living or a fractional living from this space. It's phenomenal. So yeah, all in all, 7 different segments across Deckible. So if you haven't signed up for Deckible yet, I strongly recommend you do. If you're creating a deck, the most important thing is to experience your deck and other decks. Like if you're in this space, have an awareness of what exists. And the best way to do that is to buy some decks on Deckible, use them to journal, meditate, whatever you choose, whatever decks catch your interest, is buy those decks and use them daily. Because if you use them daily, I guarantee you, absolutely 100%, you will create a better product, right? Your deck will be more engaging because if you're using it every day, you are standing in a position of 100% integrity. That's a big thing. What I've discovered, there's a lot of people who've jumped into, oh, decks are cool, let's make a deck. Do you use them? No. Well, it kind of shows when when people use your deck, right? Because you're not using it. It could, it oozes out that you're not living in integrity with your deck, right? So if you use the deck, and if you're using Deckible, you can load your deck onto Deckible. As you test it and build it, you can invite friends to come and see your deck and use your deck on Deckible. So your friends can actually congratulate you on your creative experience, right? That it's all there. But if you know how to use it, you can then tell other people what it is and how they can use it. Because people will go, digital deck, what? Like, and we need to, in 3 years, in 5 years' time, that will dissipate, right? People did not know what Spotify was when it came out. People did not, know what Etsy was or Uber or Airbnb or any of these things. This is absolutely normal. Everyone has an early adoption curve. And some people are early adopters on some things and late adopters of other things, right? There's no right or wrong. It's all good. It's just knowing that people are early adopters really helps. Let me just check the messages in case I'm missing out. Great. So yeah, okay. There's inconsistency in the thing. I'm curious what the inconsistencies are. I'd love to hear more about that. For sure. So, but if anyone's got any questions right now, I'm happy to take a couple of questions, and then I'm going to dive in to do a demo. I'm happy just to plow on to the demo if that's valuable, or we can answer questions about what we've talked about so far right now, and then go on to the demo and then answer questions on that, if that makes sense.
We have a couple of questions here
Yeah.
from the participant here. We have a question from Rachel. How well affirmations decks do?
Yeah, absolutely. Affirmations are a big thing, right? The actual answer to how well does something do is how well do you promote your deck is the bottom line, right? We have had a new creator I've never actually spoken to in person because they happen to be German. They've sold 500 copies of their deck in 2 months, right? Why have they done that? Because this person has got a following, they're savvy, they have a team, they have an email list, they aggressively promote and market their deck, and they've sold 500 copies. Ta-da, right? So that is the reality, is the right name, the right person, the right effort, you will sell it, right? You will also get strange comments from your friends and your customers when they first try and use it, maybe, if they don't know what it is. Because people are all overloaded and nobody wants more technology sometimes. And if you take them through it and show them what it is, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know this was possible. This is really cool, right? But trying to explain it to them this is definitely a show, not tell experience, right? As we're going to see in a minute as I dive into it. So what was your initial concern, Lynn? Was just you reiterating what I was saying? Overload. Okay, yeah. So the opposite is actually true. Deckible lets you underload, not overload, right? Because it's the place to go to. It's your quiet moment. You're not scrolling in Deckible. You're choosing. You're shuffling. You're flipping. You're moving things around. You're very focused. It takes everything else away, right? Oh, cool, Rhonda. That sounds great. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And we are okay. So we have a very cool feature coming. And I would show you today, but I'd probably get shot by the team. But just telling you what it is pretty darn exciting. So we have who's used the collages in Deckible, right? Every creator that's found and landed with the collages is like, holy shit, this is awesome. but it's in the back end. It's not in a sexy place. It's like kind of nerdy. You can do so much there with so much power. What we're moving is that kind of feature into the app, right? And what we're going to do is transform the sharing experience. So when you share, you're going to be able to share not just your screenshot of your reading, you're going to be able to share an animation. You're going to share a reel. So Deckible is going to make you a reel. So you just use your deck, do your reading, and then Deckible will make you, the cards will fly in. You can pick the background video. You can pick the soundtrack, share that. It will make you a 20, 30 second animated reel. And then so what's cool was we saw how successful the collages were, but we thought, well, what if we instead of putting this power in the hands of a few creators to putting in the hands of many thousands of users, right? So we're powering your customers become your biggest advocates. And people love we share stuff that's cool. We love to look cool, right? That's everyone's aspiration. Most people's aspiration in life is to have everyone else believe they're having a happy existence. And so that's why people share stuff. So if you share something that other people don't know how you did, it makes you look cool, you gain kudos points, right? Social points. So can I make more than one deck? Is it win? Yeah, totally. Many creators on Deckible have lots of decks. Honestly, if you look at the book industry, successful authors don't have one book today, they have 5, right? Having one book is like everyone can do that, but the bigger authors have many books, and people then go and buy your book. They look for if you think of everything, what do you watch on Netflix or who do you listen to? You listen to more of the content from the people you already like. Why do you buy into the services of Coach? Because you have some admiration for them. If you love Brené Brown, you're going to buy more of her books, right? If you happen to be into Gabby Bernstein, you're going to, go the whole full meal deal on Gabby and buy all her stuff, right? It's human nature. Whatever band you love, whatever actor you love, whatever brands you are, and you have the opportunity with Deckible to be that brand, right? And the cool thing is, when you think about it, printing one deck is a very old school mentality. I'll just get it right. I'll only make one thing. I won't quite do this yet. Whereas I guarantee you, if you showed me 3 decks and everyone I know in the deck industry could not predict which one's going to sell better, right? You don't know either. You can pick the thing, but if you put 3 decks on Deckible, you can do that because you haven't got to pay to print 1,000 copies of them to stand a chance of making any money, right? So you don't need 3 garages and a big bank account. You just need to be creative and have the courage of your convictions and get on and create and promote your work, right? So that's the big idea with Deckible, is it democratizes creativity. Canva's done that, but how do you make money from that? Canva's empowered you. Well, Deckible is how you actually sell the things you create in Canva and in ChatGPT and whatever AI creation tools you're using. And I think the thing I often suggest to people is have a look at the whole card deck category and decide, as I said, you're on an experience that's focused on Tarot and Oracle, but everything that applies to Tarot and Oracle, all the skills you're learning here applies to every other kind of card deck that exists, right? And honestly, Tarot and Oracle is probably it's the biggest meme in history. It's been running for the longest time. Every tarot deck is like an instance of a meme. It's a personalized copy of thing that follows a set of rules. And it's the most popular, but it's the most competitive because there are so many. You can't own every card deck, right? You can't own every tarot deck that exists, right? You just can't. So, yeah, journaling prompt decks are great, right? Because with a journaling prompt, the card tells you what to write, and then you draw the card, and then Deckible, you just type and write or talk to your phone, and it'll do your journaling for you. So probably best to me to stop talking now and start demonstrating. Right? Is we good?
One more question here for Nick. So Camilla's saying that, and I think she asked you that before. She said, "I wish there was a pen name option on Deckible, like a book publishing, right? So she can better niche various series of decks when she's creating them."
You can do that. You can just create, we have some people that have done that already. They just create an alternative account. We just haven't got the management to say, these are my 3 brands, and you have to log in and out of each one, right? But it works in exactly the same. We don't limit you from doing that. We actually encourage you, because there are some people who've got decks, if they mix them together, it would look kind of weird, right? But one's a set of workplace decks and one's a set of, spiritual or, wellness decks. That's great. I would strongly recommend that approach. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. That. So anyone got I'm going to demonstrate on my iPad, but if anyone, but I can equally jump over to demonstrating on my iPhone, if so. So I just, it's kind of easier on here. So let me stop sharing the screen, and I'm going to share and go to advanced iPad and share. Okay. Okay, so here I am in Deckible. Let me come back out of there. All right. So at the top of the screen, in case you aren't aware of this, at the top of the screen is your collection of decks, right? So you can go. So yeah, the top of the screen is my collection of decks, and I can just scroll across there, or if I want to search for a particular deck, I can type in search. If I haven't got any decks yet, because when you join Deckible, unless you've tried out the free decks, you might. Who's tried out the free decks? You know how to get the free decks on Deckible? Just go to deckible.com/marketplace/free. It's in the menu, free decks, and you can just you log in, add them to your shopping basket, and check out for 0, and then all those decks will appear in your app, right? So here's the and if I'm going to start with I'm going to start in the deck store, and here's all the decks, different categories, right? And I'm going to look for a particular. Oops, my keyboard's gone. There it is. There we go. So I'm going to look for Tal Shai is one of our creators, and I'm going to look for this emotive duet movements card deck, right? And I'm going to tap on that, and it tells me there's 74 cards, and I can flip through the slider. And this image, by the way, this is a collage, right? That's what I was talking about before, if you're not aware. That image is made with 1 click. If you had to do that in Canva, it would take you, you would be like making all these thousands of choices, and it would take you an age, right? So these are all straight from Deckible, and we also give you a QR code, so you've got a way to get straight to Deckible from wherever you are. So we make your task of marketing the deck incredibly easy. And then also here is the creator's got a video on the deck, right? So then I can play that and learn about the deck even before I bought in, right? So you can see she's used the artwork from the card deck, the 3D boxes. This deck is a digital only deck. I think this was actually published yesterday. This Tal Shai is amazing. She has 17 decks on Deckible. She's been holding back, and she's published 3 of them. The others are amazing. They're just phenomenal kind of therapy. That's her background. Anyway, very cool. So here's the description of the deck, a link to the website. If I want to get the deck, I could do that, and I can say, oh, I can buy the deck, it's $39.99, or I can try the deck. And one of the things I want to make sure was, when we started Deckible, like 2 years ago, we were very much like, don't overprice things. That was completely wrong. Price is not an obstacle. We have people selling expensive decks on Deckible all the time. Often people underprice them. So I do not recommend putting your deck at $9.99. You think about the value of the experience of Deckible, the journaling, all the history, all that stuff that's there. It's very, and if you've got audio and video, totally price it based on what you think it's worth. I'm not telling you what to do, but it's just be aware of that $9.99 is not the default. There's a bit of history, right? So I can choose, I have a trial credit, so I can try it. And now it's added, so I've got a 3-day trial, and you'll see it's just automatically downloading that deck. I think that's quite a big deck, actually. I'll take a second or two. And so, we could just watch it. I'll come back out of there. So you can see that I've got three. You can see now it's got 3 days running on my in my trial. And I come back to my timeline. It's there. It's on my homepage, and there it is. And I can now draw the cards, right? So here I am. I'm drawing a card on this deck, and I can browse the deck, which just takes me through the deck, and I can tap the cards and flip them over, tap them again, and there's an exploration of what to do with every card, right? If I want to, I can just flip that back. So I can come through here and I just tap the little symbol there. So I've just picked 4 cards, right? And I view them on the canvas. So now I've got those cards on the canvas, and and this is the beauty of Deckible. It's like you can, gather these together. These are what's called, who's heard the term meta-associative card deck before? Have you heard of that? If you Google it, they're called MAC decks, which is an abbreviation for meta-associative card deck. There's a whole genre of decks that exist. We have quite a lot of them on Deckible. And typically they're just images that don't have words on them, because then people can use them in therapy. They're also just a wonderful journal prompt. You don't need to give people words, but having an image to journal to is actually pretty powerful. And so these are just beautiful images. And if I want to, I can use the layout feature. And every time I touch the layout button, it just moves the cards around randomly. And you may not know this, but if you hold down on the layout button, you get a bunch of different options, right? So you can choose to do a mix. And now you can see the layout button is mix. So I just tap it, and it's moving the cards around at random. Now, if you combine this with recording a video from your device, so I just choose to record the video, and now I do layout, 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 and I go back to grid if I want, and now I can stop the video. And if I go to my phone, and there's the video, right? So I've recorded that. I've recorded what I did on my phone, on my tablet, and now I've got a video to share, right? If I want to, I could just share it as is. I could add audio over the top of it. So it's incredibly simple and beautiful. If you share that, people are going to be like, how did you do that? What is that? It's a very powerful feature of Deckible. So going back to Deckible. So, and if I want to, I can journal on the card. So I can journal on the whole collage of cards, or I can flip through and journal on one, right? So I'm going to talk about, I can type here what I'm feeling, or if I'm really lazy, I can just hit I'm really lazy, so I like to just talk to my phone, and that way I've got no excuses. I can just keep journaling, and it saves away everything that I'm saying. And I come back out of there, save it to my timeline. There it is in my timeline. The journal is saved, right? So I started off by telling you these are the decks that you own. You can see that one's on a trial. I've done my first reading from it. I can scroll across. I can scroll down. Every card in here is drawn from, these are my prior readings, right? And so let me show you. This is really cool. This is an amazing deck. Okay, this deck is so cool. So this.
You are a child of God. You are as God created you. You are unique.
This one. Every card in here is.
How we look at ourselves can impact what we give to the world. Every day, start by looking in your eyes in the mirror and knowing.
A different one. Every one has got an audio track.
Dear lovely soul, life is good to you. You are here to enjoy life. Just relax and go with your flow. Life will serve you to further your soul to a
And that's the sound when I'm ready. I can flip that over. There's a little quote in there, and then basically there's a letter. Each one of these people in this deck has written a letter to their younger self. And to be in this deck, you have to go on this self-portrait photography course. And then you basically get to write this and go through the whole experience, and you end up being part of this deck. It's a pretty amazing deck. But what I'm showing you here is just how you can integrate audio. So when I said earlier, Deckible is an experience, that was an experience, right? That is a moving, touching, memorable. I can now journal on that, right? It is a very emotive, personal, connective experience, and that's saved away. I can also play video, right? So I've got the, yeah. Oh, no. Oops. Here. There we go. Oops. So I'll show you this video. Pick a card from this deck at random. And so this is a video that gives you tips on how to make shorts, right? So that the idea of this card is saying you should create something you're passionate about. Well, let's see what the author's got to say about that.
Hey gang, it's Luke Ortone, and we are back with Short Shots, your ideas and prompts for doing short videos under 60 seconds. Today's prompt is what I'm really passionate about. Share what lights you up, what you're passionate about. My example for this would be I am really passionate about helping folks get their message out to the world, whether it's a book or a speech.
Is that cool or what? I mean, have you ever seen anything that makes, this is an experience that you can create. You can load that. That deck could be selling tomorrow if you've created that work. The audio track, the video, the artwork. It's a personal growth. It's reflective. It's whatever you want it to be. It's whether to learn, create habits. Like, this is freaking amazing. And, you know, we've just focused on a passion with Deckible to polish this up and polish this up and polish this up. And we're not done yet. It's getting better and better. But I strongly recommend getting on board ASAP, because we're going to start charging people to be joining Deckible as a creator. So the value to get on this right now. And we also really appreciate, if you appreciate what we're doing, buy some decks on Deckible and tell other creators that you appreciate that, right? So we're not wanting to charge for creators. We want people to buy decks to support the creators, because that's what we're trying to create a community for artists to help artists. We're here to support that. And you're part of that community. And you have the opportunity to support other creators by buying decks. So if you buy half a dozen decks and use them daily, I absolutely guarantee that'll be the best money you've ever spent to guide your journey to create a better product, right? Like that, the video I showed you with the Enough project, it's only got 17 cards in it right now, because I got to hear of it, and I've kind of nurtured the idea. We've nurtured the brand. We've nurtured everything. The photographer who runs the portrait course, the creator for that experience, we've just focused on making it so cool, right? So yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool, pretty darn cool. If ever I have a bad day, which we all do, right? I can go and spend half an hour in Deckible and go, well, freaking hell, I couldn't be more proud of what we've done. I can tell you 1,000 things that are wrong with Deckible, right? Because I'm a critical software guy. And we look at those things all the time to improve it. But it's amazing that we have spotted an opportunity. Every card deck should go digital. People should create more card decks than there are. Every business book should have a card deck to go with it, right? Because with Deckible, the daily practice that you get from using your card deck will help you put the ideas of the book into action, right? And that's a big deal. So I've got one more. While I'm on a creative streak, I have to show you this, because this is probably my favorite deck of all on, well, favorite deck that I've created, not of all, but the deck of ways. Okay. This is a free deck on Deckible. I challenge you to download it, play with it, not be blown away by it, and to make it think to yourself, what deck could I create? And the amazing feature that we use with this deck is transparency. And transparency lets you create a vision boarding deck where every card is of a different shape. We do not need to be constrained by a rectangle. We can have circular decks, we can have round decks, we could have a deck that looks just like this cup. We could have a deck of a card that's a piece of sellotape, and it literally look like that, and you can move it around and size it. So let me show you that. So I'm just gonna, here's all the cards in the deck, right? And I can shuffle them if I want. You're gonna notice you can see through the cards. It's quite funny. So if I drag some cards onto the canvas, there we go. They'll draw a card, and you know, there's no edge to the card. It's totally a floating object. And I can bring another card in. Let me think of something else to look for in here. Oh, this is a fun card. Drag this in. Close that down. You see that's transparent? So I can make that one small. Isn't that cool? So you can imagine you create a vision board. You can make a deck. If the first person that makes a vision board deck will end up making 10 more, because every customer that buys the vision boarding deck will want the next objects and the next objects in their deck, right? Because people are going to be blown away by that. And then when you actually get to be able to animate this and share this as a reel, mind blowing, right? Because this is a tactile experience. What stops people doing personal growth work? What stops people doing stuff is resistance. What causes resistance? Conscious thought. When you're in the moment doing this, you're not having any of that. You're fully engrossed, and that's some of the magic of Deckible. So this is really a creative toolkit, right? This is so powerful, but you need to invest in it to figure it out. There's nothing in this that's worth looking at is going to be resolved by you in 5 minutes. So honestly, the best advice I can give you is check out, we give you 4 or 5 or 6 free decks on Deckible, but invest and buy some decks and try them out and use them. Like, eat the dog food. If you're going to be in the card deck industry because you love this stuff, eat the dog food, lead by example, and you will create a better product because you're using it every day. And I guarantee you, anyone that hears that and thinks, oh yeah, sure, I'll do that later, you know, that's the worst piece of self-advice you gave yourself. Do it now. Like, honestly, step into it and make that a priority. Treat yourself and start using those decks every day, because it will inspire your journey. Like, Catch is giving you all the tools you need to know how to, right? How to go and use AI to generate images, how to use AI to write the text if you're not a good writer, right? This is turning it into a reality that's an experience that's in your customer's pocket. And we are giving you the tools to be a creative designer for your customers. So you can create emotional experiences for your customers, right? But you will do that better if you throw yourself in, immerse yourself, invest in some decks, use it daily. And if you see things in Deckible you don't like, tell us. We don't bite. We might not do it straight away. We might not do exactly what we ask, but generally, Deckible is as good as it is because we've really listened to everybody, right? 800 decks is not an accident. That's a lot of trust, a lot of effort, right? 35% repeat purchase is because people love it when they get it, right? You know, and what I would strongly suggest you do is the first brainstorming to go through is to imagine the 5 to 10 deck ideas you could create. And then sit with those and do some mock-ups and play with the ideas, but then prioritize and think, which one really speaks to me? Because if you're serious about this, any product you make, any deck you make will require revisiting, polishing, tidying up, like, oh my God, I got that wrong. So you have to love what you're doing because it's going to be hard. And you're going to go and tell people about your deck and you're going to get blank expressions on their faces, right? Because you're innovating and creating and people don't know what that is. And if you love the topic, you'll fight your way through it. You will see your way through the darkness and people will join you and see your vision, right? But put the time and effort in and think carefully about what you invest in. And there's some amazing decks on Deckible to do that with, right? If you go to the deck store, we've tried to curate the decks we think are kind of cool. There's so many decks. It's really hard to choose. I try not to. It's just fun and engaging. So let me see. Let me look at my checklist. So I've shown the deck store. I've shown trials and how it downloads the deck. I haven't done spreads. If everyone's interested, I can show you spreads, how Deckible does spreads. Right, let's do that. All right, good. So let me, I'll do this one. I know this one really well. So, no, it's more, let's do one. Let's do this one. So here, so I chose a deck, right? And I can choose a blank canvas or I can choose browse. I've shown you both of those. We've got quick draw that draws 1, 2, or 3 cards at random. But if you scroll down, if the creator has defined them, you can have spreads, right? So this is happiness spread. So I just tap on that. I don't think I've used this spread before, so I'm going my intuitions. There's it. The deck is shuffling. I can stop it. So I control the shuffle, by the way. I shuffle it, stop. I control it. I'm influencing shuffle. That is a big deal in this world of, using energy in your own vibration to influence things, right? So there's the deck. It's shuffled up. I can flip it and shuffle it. How stunning is that, right? And you can just record that. And I can shuffle it again. Now I've got that. I've got the shuffle to share via social media. You've got the artwork. We just make it look more fun and funky and quick and easy for you to, if you create a deck, you're going to have to keep promoting it for months and months and months. So these tools make it super powerful to do that. And I've just made that video and I can share that, right? So let's go and fill in our spread. So I can, if depending on where you feel, you can close it and do it blind. I'm going to do it up. I'm going to do it fake. I'll do it blind. So I can go and choose this card and drop it onto color, right? And choose this card and drop it onto joy. Or, because some people don't like to do this, they want the deck to deal the cards for them, I use quick draw, right? So I can use the platform to randomly choose me a card because energetically, a whole bunch of people love that. And if you want to choose your own, just as I've done, I mix that up here. So now I can reveal. And I can tap on each card in turn, and I flip it over, and I can scroll down to read what the creator has made about this spread. This is a custom spread, right? So this is the fate, the story, it's all there, right? I can zoom in on the card, and I can read the text on the card as well. It's all there, right? So I can tap to the next card, flip it over, next card, flip it over, next card, flip it over, and I just tap on each card and it's in focus. Once I tap on, I click on the wolf there with the power animal and zoom. I've got the full screen, right? I've got everything that I want. And if I'm curious, I can flip to the deck. It tells me the rest of the deck. It's about the deck here, right? It's all there. So it's very simple. And that's a spread, right? You can design your own spread. I can actually show you, but literally you just say how many cards do you want and you move them around. And you can create like a zodiac spread. Let me just show you that. Like this deck, for example, has got, there's the zodiac spread, right? Oh, I mean to do that. This kind of changes. I have to go there. scroll down to the Zodiac spread. I have to tap on it and then start. There we go. Shuffle. And now I've got, if I want to, I could just quick draw and it will fill it in for me, right? I don't need to go through the whole of that for you, but just get the idea. So you can literally design those spreads. You just move things around and give it words and descriptions exactly as, well, you all know how spreads work. Okay, so that was one thing I'd missed. Journal, meditate, audio, video. Oh, mixed deck readings. Who does mixed deck readings? Who likes to do that? Should I show you a mixed deck reading? So here's, I'm going to join a card from this deck, and now I hit plus to add an extra card. I just choose a new deck. Now I'm going to choose a card from this deck. Quick draw. There it is. I'll flip it over. Choose, hit plus. I could choose more cards from that deck, or I can choose a different deck. I'm going to throw in a card for the deck of ways. There it is. You can see that's transparent. Seeing over there, it's kind of cool. And just one more for the just for fun. I'll choose one from this deck, and I'll quick draw. There we go. So this deck is actually stunning. This Intuition Heart deck. It's got 121 cards. Some of the cards are words. Some of the cards are images. It's just add another one. So this, I'll flip these over for you. So these are the images at the beginning of the deck, and then the words at the end. So you can quick draw to choose another word, or I could choose. Oh, it's just right at the end of the deck. Yeah, there we go. So I can choose an image to drag in there. And now I can arrange those any which way, or I can use the layout tool, whatever you want. So that's a mixed deck reading. Pretty amazing. Nothing does this. There is not a single app in the world that has all of these features for a card deck: integrated journaling, meditation, mixed deck readings, tarot spreads, a marketplace of 800 decks. It's truly thought-leading representation, and you have the opportunity to be part of that, to shape it, right? Don't be passive in this experience. Participate, speak up, ask for things. We definitely can't do everything everyone asks for, but when we get enough signal from people, we listen to those things, right? And we're always guiding the ship where we think, these days it's not where we think it should go. We listen to where everyone else thinks it should go. And if you don't speak up, you definitely won't get what you're asking for, because you won't have dared to speak up. It's the same as manifesting, right? So who wants to see some of the back end of Deckible now? We do some questions on that, and then we can go on to I'm just going to show you collaging the QR codes. I was going to talk about SEO and then genres, and that was all the back end stuff. So I'm kind of 90% done, but I'm happy to. Any questions right now on what I've just done? Anyone wants to see something specific?
We have a question from Emma.
Yeah.
Can we add on, can we add an existing deck? So for example, if she has new images, or does it need to be separate deck, like a new one?
No, I mean, if you're going to add 20 cards to something, I begin to ask you, should that be a part 2, like a sequel, right? But if you missed a card, or you think something's, you want to add 1 or 2 cards, or you want to replace an image, absolutely fine. And, replace a typo. This is not the printing press, right? This is designed for a digital age where you should be able to iterate and refine and update your artwork, right? And one of the things that I really see a lot of people struggle with is this perfectionism syndrome that comes from, which is perfectionism and procrastination are like twin brother and sister. And the printing press is responsible for making us procrastinate, right? We just say, oh, some people say to me, I won't put it on Deckible till it's finished. I'm like, wrong. That's absolutely the wrong thing to do, right? And I can't convince these people, because they've got a lifetime of being driven by kind of Gutenberg printing press thinking, right? But if you dare to trust me, load your deck as is, play with it, validate it, go, oh, that should be this, not that, right? this is cool, that isn't, fix that, change this. It is designed to iterate, right? And what happens if you iterate, everyone who has your deck, right, will get the updated version, as if by magic, the updated version. That doesn't happen with Audible or Spotify. They sell you a new song, right, or a new book. You know, this is a big difference, because we're here to support creatives, but also creative needs to support us, right? We're existing, but it's your job as the creators on this platform to help us market it, to invite your friends, to talk passionately about it, to not be a kind of shrinking violet about it, and share. Like, you know, if you're jumping up and down with energy and enthusiastic and excitement from today from seeing this, you're like, I didn't know I could do this. Do not keep that in a shoebox. Get it out there. Tell your friends, invite them. Come join you and have fun with your deck and buy other decks and experience that on Deckible, right? We're building a community, and this has been this is a massive labor of love, and it's really beginning to work. But, you know, we need your support. And I've not been vocal enough about that with creators in the past. Too many artists love to create, not to promote their work, and that's a sad travesty. And so we're here to tell you, you shouldn't do that. Bring your friends along, you know, bring your cheerleaders along, support other artists, cheerlead people for their deck, tell them how amazing it is, right? If someone's deck influenced your life in any way, shape, or form, tell them about it. And because you would appreciate someone doing that for you. So this really is designed to support creativity in so many ways, right? Yes, you can have suits. You have as many suits in your deck as you want. We just call them tags. You tag the cards as being in suit A or suit B, whatever you want, and then you can choose filter. I didn't show you filtering, but you can search for a card by name, or you can search for just all the hearts in the deck or whatever, just all the major arcana, minor arcana. Yeah. We can do it faster in a digital deck than reality, because we can find the card by name or by suit. It just makes sense. Like, digital is going to be quicker, right? Okay. Any more questions there? I'm happy to, I'm going to jump in, show you
We have
some.
a couple. We have a question here from Lynn. Where is your question here, Lynn? I'm just looking for that. She was asking if she can create different categories.
Okay, yeah, I've got to come back to those. So two things. One, Lynn, and to everybody here, like, oh my God, when you go on social media, if you love Deckible, don't just see our posts go past, comment on them, like them at the very least, reshare them, comment on them. Like, if you want to support us, that's a very small way to do it. But yeah, I see people following and not saying anything. It's like, okay, well, I know we're all busy, but just write a short comment. Support us, share the stuff. That makes a big difference. We are battling, like, I don't know, Instagram has changed massively in the last 3 months. It's got way harder. And so be an active vocal person, reshare stuff, and also comment. That makes a big deal. And just keep doing it, like, just every day, keep doing it. That really helps. There was a question about genres, was it?
Lynn, can you open up mic? For some reason, I don't see this question. We're so active here. What was your question about categories?
Okay, my deck is going to be basically wordless.
Okay.
But it's about experience and emotions, and there's like 6 different subsets of categories.
Okay.
And I need to know if there's some way I can create spreads that will allow the person to pick, here's the life experience, here's the emotion, etc.
Right. And we can, I mean, you can do spreads. There are certain features that we need to add in certain places. There are 2 experiences in Deckible. There's the freeform experience and there's the spread experience. And the spread is very rigid and the freeform is very fluid. And we have certain features in here that aren't in here, and our goal is to bring that to parity over time. But you can generally do exactly what you wanted. You can tag cards, choose them, filter from those cards, choose at random from the things that you've just filtered on. So it's very simple to do.
Okay, thank you.
And there are lots of decks that use suits. So the best way is to see what other people have done. There's a great deck called Simple Truths. There's tons of suit-based decks. I should make a genre of all decks that do that, so you can more easily see that.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Lynn.
Ju-
There's a question from Anne.
Okay.
I think you can see it, right?
Okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah, okay. So yeah, there is that right now. Deckible runs on iOS and Android. It needs Android 13 or above. So if you have an old Android, which Apple has and Samsung are really evil at this, they block your old version from updating just so they can sell you a new device. So before that becomes a big issue, we're talking about a $75 cost to buy yourself an Android tablet that's compatible. And that is the solution right now. And 85% of all Androids are compatible to this point. But we can't control that. Google forces us makes us say that it won't work on those releases. We are working on solutions to combat that. We are working on what's called a progressive web app. So you can just run Deckible in the browser, but it's super complicated to do that, because also when you're running a browser, you can't do this, right? Everything's got to be a little arrow to click next, previous. You can't just move things around. So it's just work, right? So, if you want us to do that, buy 100 decks, buy 1,000 decks. We need more people buying more decks, promoting more decks, and then we'll have the budget to do these things. Right now, we're very laser focused on the things we think will move the needle in terms of revenue, and just the whole kind of, it's very focused. So, and also just bear in mind, one really important thing is, and I'm sorry if you use an Android phone, this is not personal, this is a statistic. People who use, and Deckible runs on every single iOS phone. iOS spending on apps is massively higher than Android spending, right? It's just a fact. People who buy Androids, and I'm not talking about you, but there's a general, you could buy Android because you hate Apple. That's a very good reason. You think they're extortionately expensive, valid reason too. But a lot of people just want a phone. They don't have a tech preference. And if you don't express a preference, you will end up having with an Android, right? And they're a fantastic product, but just be careful you don't get sold an older version, because that's what they do, is they clear out the old stock, and they don't tell you that this version is version 12. It won't upgrade to here, and that's all part of that world, right? So, yeah. So there are more Androids than iOS, but sales for apps on iOS are way higher than Android. So you can Google all of that, but yeah, these are just facts of that we do research, right? So, but we totally want to have a desktop version. It's just there's time and energy and focus and where we got to go, and the more everybody on Deckible supports us to create and promote, the more successful we can be, the more we can afford to do all this stuff, right? So that's our vision. That's where we're heading, and I think we're doing a pretty good job, but there's always more to do. Any more questions? Should I dive into showing the back end?
Yes, I never seen the back end. I learned so much today. Like every time we have Nick, I learn something new every time. And I've seen and talked to Nick so many times, right? So
honestly, it's shocking, and that's not a sarcastic comment at all. It happens a lot, right? It's not you, it happens because this is a rich product, and as I said before, people but we divide our attention between so many things, right? And it takes time and effort to become an expert in something. Like if you want to become an expert at ChatGPT or Midjourney, you need to put your time and hours in. Otherwise, you're going to create mediocre copy and mediocre images. And it's the same with Deckible, right? You need to, if you think this is important for you, spend the time, spend some money to buy and test other products so you can see other decks, and spend time and effort and energy using and learning the product, right? Okay, got that running now. So I'm just going to jump over to share screen again. And there it is. Okay. All right. Let's pick a deck, right? So this is the marketplace for Deckible, and you will always find something with Deckible. I hate it, but it's just an unavoidable reality, in my opinion. That Deckible, the website, sometimes does more than the app, and sometimes the opposite way around, right? If we had infinite budget, we could make them all be completely parallel, but sometimes we do experiments in one thing that moves things forward, and then that drags the other one along, whichever one comes first and second. So in Deckible, in the app, we have 18 genres. In Deckible.com, it's the same stuff, but we have 7 super categories. You can see here, workplace facilitation, wellness, creativity, coaching, prompts and choices, spirituality, and daily challenges. And those are the 7, right? And so I can click on any one of those. So if I pick spirituality, there we go. And then now I'm showing some kind of featured decks, right? I'm going to choose, I like this one. I'm going to choose this one. And this is a hand-painted watercolor deck. It's pretty cool. And slide through there, see the images, right? Beautiful. Let's see how we made that image, right? How do we make that collage? And so I just go into checklist. And you can only do this for your own decks, right? Obviously. So I'm doing this as an administrator. I can see these are the collages that were made already for that deck, right? But I can go in and make a new collage. So here it is. There we go. Ta-da! Right? One click. One click. So don't like those images? Just reload the page. And one click. It's done, right? What would you like that image? Sure. Just click Save Image over here. Save image, it's saved. I just go to my folder. Oh, you won't see that because I didn't share the window, but it's saved the image to my folder, right? Before you save the image, just make sure, I'm back here. So just make sure that everything is loaded. It's possible one of them might still be white and it's loaded, it's still loading. So that's a circle. How about a double circle? So you've made that content, you can save that image, right? Just wait till it's finished loading. They're all loaded. One more to go. What's that? No. And if you want to, you can just, copy the image from there, save image as, or you've got this button over here, save image. And if it was your deck, you just click save to collages, and then it would put that in your collage. So on your deck landing page, as you go through the sliders, that image would be there, right? You can animate it, yeah. So I'm going to animate. Animate is where it builds up that image by image, and unanimate, which is where it starts from the full finished thing and takes it down to nothing. So if I unanimate that, it will take a while to process that, but it saved it away. That's a 3.5 meg image, and I'll just drop that into yeah, there we go. Can you see that? You seeing that? So if I reload, yeah, it just keeps looping, right? So then you've basically made a video we don't need to know any skills, but you don't know what to share today, can't think of what to share, just come to Deckible, pick a collage and animate it or unanimate. Unanimate takes away down to nothing. Animate starts from just fills it up slowly. You can choose either. Anyway, so here we are back in the image, and then I could choose a fan. which is just like with the box. You can experiment with all of these. And these cards you can actually move around as well if you want. So, you know, if you just decide, if you're anti-OCD, you can just mess them up a bit, like if you just whatever you want, right? So you're making something totally you, but it took you 3 clicks and 2 seconds to do that. Save the image, done, right? These are pretty cool. These up hand and down hands are kind of new. Just a fan of cards because that looks great. You know, if you don't want them quite so overlapping, you just move them around, right? Save the image. Oh, incredibly easy. Want to spell out your deck? You can go to, you know, if your deck is called spell, you just come here to S. And you can resize them as well, Rhonda, by the way. As you click on them, you get handlebars and you can make them bigger. So there you can spell the deck. Right? And if I decided, oh, that card's a bit messy, I just choose that. And I however I want it, right? Click on the card, just rotate it. Beautiful. Right? So you can create a whole alphabet, save the images, and then anything you want to say about your deck, you just, you know, if you want to say spell, you've got the S, the P, E, the L. That's your social media content, right? It's incredibly easy to do that, and it looks great, right? Because you put all this effort into artwork, and you can do some of this in Canva, but you won't do it this quick, and you won't do it this varied, right? Because it's your deck, everything that's there, it's all these tools, it just gets better, right? So yeah, and if you want to just drop like, you know, 9 images on the canvas, there you go, right? 15 images on the canvas, you can. It's super simple. And one of the cool things as well is this shows the different sides of the deck. So if you had a guidebook with a deck and you could show different faces, it's very easy to do. So for example, like if I just pick there's the mixed emotion deck. This deck has got multiple different sides to it, and each one is different. So if I just go into the checklist, and collages, and you'll see these check boxes here. That's showing the face, the back, the front of the card. So if I just want to show the images, not the text, I do that, switch them off. And there it's brought in those. If I want to pull in the different face, I won't wait for that to finish. I just choose a different face, and now I've got all the descriptive text coming up as cards. You'll see in a second. There we go, right? I mean, ridiculously easy, ridiculously powerful. You never get bored. You don't need to get bored of marketing your deck. You just need to use the right tools to do the job, right? You don't need to say anything. It says it's for itself, right? Especially if you animate it, right? Yeah. You don't need a guidebook. The guidebook are cards in the deck, right? So if I come back to mixed emotions, yeah. No, not this one. I'll pick a different deck which has a guidebook. Oh. Let me see if I can figure out which one. Oh, this deck. Pretty sure. See, this deck has got guidebook cards. See the 7 there? And if I go into checklist, there's 44 cards and 7 guidebook cards. So if I can choose the guidebook cards here. And here they are. I'll click on it. You'll see there's the front and back of the card. A quick guide. Right, nice and simple. And you just flip through the deck one by one. These are all the tools in the back end that allow you to do that. And I talked about the QR code. If you need to use the QR code anywhere, which is really smart to do, you just you can just go to there, and it's the last tab is there's the video, but there's the QR code, right? If you need to get the full, just go to the checklist. I think in the checklist there is a QR. There we go. So you can actually get a fuller, higher res version. You don't really need it because they're very good at being low res, but there is the QR code, right? And it's going to take you to this page. So everything we've, if we realize that something that you're doing that's repetitious that we can help with, there it is. It's fixed, right? We help you with that. So let me I talked about metaphorical card decks, right? Look at that. Okay. You realize what's happened there? Do you see how epic that is? I searched for metaphorical card deck, and Google put Deckible top and came up with featured snippets from Deckible that says metaphorical card decks are a type of deck that blah blah blah, and from there I can click on that and I'm into Deckible. And here's all the metaphoric associative card decks on Deckible, right? So we are putting you on page 1 of Google for that deck. If I look at Rebel deck, right? I scroll down here. There's Deckible, right? So we're getting more and more page rank authority, but what we need is if you have a deck on Deckible and you have a website, link to it. Link to, like your Instagram profile, you can put 4 links. Make one of them link to your Deckible deck. Don't make it hard for people to find it. So link from have a page on your website with your deck that links to Deckible with a link directly to your link page. Put the text of the link as be keywords that are valuable to that, and you can Google how to do that. Link to your personal profile page on Deckible, right? So if I'm here, that's a bad example on me. So if I choose like, this CBT deck, put link to this URL is the link, right? But you see how that URL has got all the words in it. So that's got the name of the deck, the tagline for your deck, your name, right? It's all in there. So this is like really rich, powerful SEO value. And just see if I did it. Yeah, I think I've shown you all the things that need to be shown. So you get the idea. This is deep, serious. It's still fun, but there's really serious stuff that gets you found, right? But you need to promote your deck. You need to link back to your deck. You need to bring your friends to the platform. You need to promote it. Like, we live in an age where everyone's overloaded. You tell anyone about anything and they're like, yeah, later, right? That's 2024. We can complain about it, or we can actually lean into it and embrace the reality of what it is. And we need to, like, one of the superpower of mixed deck readings, do a mixed deck reading, but with your deck plus 3 other people's decks. then you share that, guess what you're doing? You're promoting 3 other people. It's powerful, simple stuff like that Deckible makes super easy to do.
Thank you so much, Nick. I have a kind of last question from me, because I believe in giving attributions where the attribution is needed. And I think we need to do much better job, and especially when we use some graphics from Deckible or anything like, all the animations and everything else. What is the best way for all of the creators who are on this call, who is listening, who will be watching replay? What is the best way to attribute Deckible? Is it best to
just link to your deck page, link to the deck? Like, honestly, if lots of people promote their deck and they go, well, I've talked about Deckible once, great. You need to mention that it's on Deckible every time you mention your deck. You just need to accept and say, sorry, this is new stuff. I'm going to tell you about it every time. And then put the link to your deck, put hashtag Deckible. Like that's like link from your website to the Deckible page, link from your website to your personal bio page. Because if you link to them, Google goes, oh, people are saying this is important. Link to other people's decks. Don't just link to your own stuff. Recommend other people's stuff, right? This is not about you. It's about the community of, trying to do that stuff.
Yeah. So what we mean, like, let's say I use a collage, right? So, and I would use your collage from Deckible, but on my graphic, and I might to add something to that, create promotional graphic, but I still want to give the attribute to Deckible. So is it the best just to tag you on Instagram or on Facebook, or just mention and say collage was created on Deckible, or
link to the deck?
Okay. So
link
you
to the
okay
deck
with that?
that included the collage, because the problem is with social media, the best thing as well is don't be so obsessed and driven by social media. I still believe you need to own your own website. So many people are just like, oh, I think that's social. I think that's I'm on Instagram and I'm on here. And that's not real. That's not your space. That gives you no authority. You get lost in the noise. You get shown to who they choose to show you to, right? And, if you have your own website, it depends how committed you are, right? If this is a hobby for you and you're not really planning to do anything about it, so be it, right? You're not, but the people we care about and want to help on this platform, the people who, if you want to make a living from this, you need to get somewhat serious about it. Having a website, having a place to drive people, owning an email list. If you don't have an email list, you don't know what Facebook's going to do or what Instagram's going to do. You could get kicked off. You could get hacked. You end up crying in the corner with nothing because you didn't have a website and you didn't have an email list, and it'll be too late by then, right? So nothing you can do about that, right? It's just the way it is. But it depends how committed you are. And some people are like, oh, I just want to make a deck. It's beautiful, right? And that's fun. But then you might actually, there's a bunch of people who are like, well, this is an opportunity. Depending what you do, maybe this is the fun piece, but you actually have a coaching business, or maybe you're an author in a different way. You go, oh, I could create a more serious deck. It still looks fun and beautiful, but whatever. I mean, decks are a medium for engaging, teaching, learning, growing, right? And I kind of bang the drum on that, but it's so true, right? Don't miss the point. It is that. And it's still early days, right? Tons of people 99% of the world have not heard of Deckible to this point, right? Not through our lack of effort. I mean, we're being throttled by social media, and it's our creators and us that have that job, and we're doing all we can. And the better the product is, and that's why we're doing I talked about that shared reels, but then we're empowering every customer to look cool.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Guys, just post in the comments, like always, your appreciation for Nick. This is so, so important to us. And then we'll go and really ask some more questions I have from participants in Adventure. And those questions will be actually for our members, right? So I have a series of questions for you guys. They all simple, don't worry. Okay, and we'll start doing that. So thank you, Nick, again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're always so generous with your time. You're always just incredible. And even Camilla's mentioning here, I'm very big, strict, like, I want to give attribution. And Nick is like, no, just put your URLs. That's all. We'll just put your URL to the deck. Yeah.
That's, I mean, you can mention us. We're very open to like inviting people to collaborate with us if you don't know how to do that. Sometimes we don't always say yes because there's things we have plans of posts we're putting out, but we're very open. If you should learn about collaboration and how to invite people to collaborate on Instagram, because I think it's less effective than it used to be. I think they've throttled that, so I'm not as big a fan of it as I used to be. But tell friends, bring people to the platform. Other people who are creative that could be on Deckible. People who've got, everyone knows a friend who's written a book somewhere. Get it on, shorten that book, make it visual and put it on Deckible. Maybe the skills you've learned in this course could help you do that for a friend, right? Maybe that's a new creative consulting avenue that you could pursue. Just recognize that you're somehow early, right? In my opinion, my data would tend to drive towards, probably if you're lucky, 7% of the world is really into card decks at this point. We think that's going to change because we're going shorter and shorter attention spans. We're learning just in case on the fly, right? And Deckible is the perfect medium for that. So you're in early on something, but don't expect magic. You have to put in the work. Put in the work to learn it, to use it, to promote it. If you do that, you can do, as I said, one creator's turned up and sold 500 decks. They know what they're doing. They did it, right? So that we know the magic will happen at some point. And we're talking to more and more people with 1 million followers who are, they're pretty hard people to deal with, but eventually we will get one of those on Deckible.